So hi there, we get back to the Stata interface. We had established that we had three windows, not just for the purpose of this course. There are more than that. We had the main window, we had the data editor, and we have the do file editor. So we're going to be using the main windows and the data editor, the data editor to evaluate for clarity. And we had already mentioned it, the variables properly labeled, the value sets properly labeled. Let's see if we can detect that just looking at the windows. So this is a typical window here in a data set. So it has if you look closely, and now I'm sure you should be able to just look at something closely. If you look closely, you will see it has three variables. It's all written down here. Just a three variable data set. Like I always try making it simple. So when we look at the variable section, which we're going to just zoom into slightly, you will find that there are no labels here. So what is Q1? What is Q2? What is Q3? This is what we're talking about. How do you make sense of it if you don't know what they are? So that's a big challenge. If you also go lower, just lower to that section, there's a label section that is missing. So technically speaking, we're just looking at labels. Q1 had been selected. If you go back one step, you see Q1 had been selected here. That's why it's grayed out. No label. There's no label for Q2 and 3. And I can assure you, if you clicked on 2 and 3, you will get the same thing. So when you look at the properties section and the variable section, you should be able to tell if data just from the windows now is clear or not. Okay, so this data set itself also is not having a label, so we don't know what the data is all about. So someone just gave you a variable, a data set Q1 to Q3, and does not tell you what those variables are, does not tell you what data set is out, so you are left in the dark. Now, one way to check, of course, now is looking at the data editor window. Now the data editor window now tells me there's Glory James, there's female, so I get a sense now that this is Q3 is like gender, Q2 is like a name, and Q1. So I'm still guessing. That's the truth, but it gives me a sense. So sometimes you want to browse to have a sense of what the data may be talking about. It's not exactly the whole truth, but it gives you some sense. So I get it. So, but is Q1 really the surname and Q2 the surname, or vice versa? So we need to know, or maybe Q2 or Q1 is even the middle name. So all this context we do not know, and that's why we have to find what the labels of the variables are, and you find that again in the data editor window. So that gives much more information. So just like we found out in the main window, we can find out that all the labels are missing. We find out the other details, the type and the format. But the major thing that tells us what the data does or what it is missing. Similarly to in the properties window, you'll find it. So always just look out for that column called label or that row called label. The rows are in the properties, Same thing for data label. So basically, those are the ways you can't find that in the do file editor. So whenever you see data and you want to find out how clear it is, I would advise that you go to the variables. It gives you a whole sense of it. That's variables here, all the variables. Now, the only challenge with this method of manual checking, this is how I call it when you use the windows, is the fact that it's only very useful when you have very limited, little number of variables. Here we just have 3 variables, but can you imagine data sets where you have 5,000 variables and you want to start scrolling down and checking how many had labels or not? You would be you'll be exasperated because there's quite a number of things you have to scroll and you can make mistakes, so there has to be a better way, definitely, of checking for these things. So we are also going to show that in the next lesson, but I'm just saying a quick check, especially if you have a variable that has, a data set that has 7 to 8 variables or 10 or even 15, you can quickly check if it was properly labeled. But you can't really do much using Windows, but you can still do a little of assessment using the windows. So I hope this has helped. Basically, these are the things that people check for once data comes their way before they start evaluating. Okay, so thank you so much for this video. We'll also go on straight to the next video, lesson 4, where we'll now use actual commands, which is better for more larger data sets. And what I mean by larger data sets, I mean data sets that have maybe more than 20 variables. You can easily access with commands rather than just looking manually using Windows. So I'll see you in lesson 4 and we'll take it deeper. Thank you.